Welcome, everyone, as we learn the segment called For the Shabbos Table for Parshas Emor. This segment has been sponsored very graciously by the Rubin family, who have sponsored this year, partly with the tefillah that they should be zeichet to a healthy Ben Zachar, and for Atzlach and Ruchnius and Gashmias. We want to thank everybody for joining and making this a very highly popular share. This week's parasha, of course, which we lane on the Yom Tovim because it talks about the Moedim, so it talks about the Yemei Sviro, Svartam Lachem Imachar Shabbos, and we know that during this period between Pesach and Shavuos, an enormously national tragedy occurred, almost unparalleled in the annals of history, where a targeted heavenly death occurred for the creme de la creme of Klal Yisrael. And the 24,000 Talmidei Rabbi Kiva died. They didn't just die. They died horribly. They died painfully. The Gemara in Brachos tells us that there are 903 different types of death. This is learned out from the pasuk of L'maves Toitzais, issues of death, and Toitzais is the gematria 903. There are 903 ways to die, and the easiest death is Misa B'Neshika, is the death of a kiss. From the Rabbeinu Shalom, and the death of Moshe Rabbeinu and Avram Avinu, the Avos HaKadoshim. It says, the Gemara says, it's like pulling a hair out of milk. It's so easy. And the very worst death is the death of Askara, a type of diphtheria, a type of croup. And it says that the 24,000 Talmidim died from this horrifying death. That means their wives had to watch them die, suffering, their parents. And the schus of the Torah, and not just any Torah, the Torah of the Heilige Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, did not save them. Now, we know that the Gemara, nowadays we don't know, like if anybody says, why did the Holocaust happen? We don't know. The things that we don't know. Mishpatecha tahaim rabba, your judgment is very deep. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem to explain Mibnei Matzadik V'Raloi V'Roshav Toivloi, and he said Haydieni Noas Drachecha, and the Rebbeinu Shalom told him it's beyond your ken. Richamti Chanoisi Asher Ochaim V'Richamti Asher Arachim. This is not something with your mortal eyes you can grasp. However, the Gemara in Yevamos does tell us the reason for the death of Rabbi Akiva. It tells it because we have a period of mourning, the longest period of mourning in the Jewish calendar, longer than the 3 weeks for the Churban HaBayis, the Churban of both temples, which is only 3 weeks, 21 days. This is 33 days. The Gemara tells us because they didn't give honor one to another. And this is so important because it makes us reevaluate our relationships with our fellow man. Chazal tell us that a nochish is not meimus. A snake doesn't kill. It's a chet that's meimus. It's the sin that kills. Now, if sin kills, so it stands to reason that the very most painful death is for the very most terrible crime. And this makes us really, it opens our eyes to how important it is to give respect to our fellow man. Now note, it never says that they abused their chaverim. Chas v'shalom. It never says shegina zeh, that they disgraced one another. It just was a lack of respect for people who were the leaders of the land. The 24,000 disciples of Rabbi Akiva were the leaders of the land, the model for the rest of the people. This was not acceptable, that they shouldn't give honor to one another. This, for all time, when we, don't take haircuts, and we don't listen to music, it's in order to get us to stop and think how important it is, the respect we give to our friends, to our neighbors. It's of critical importance. It's so interesting that Rabbi Akiva was the one that expounded V'haftal ri'acha kamoicha zeh klal gadol b'Torah. Love your friend like yourself. This is a great principle. Perhaps he taught this afterwards. But it's interesting also that it was Rabbi Akiva's great Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer, who was the author of Yehei k'vod chavercha chaviv alecha kishalach. Let the honor of your friend be as important as your own honor. Now we know we're very watchful, and we're very protective of our own honor. We have to be protective of other people's honor. How do we work on this? We want to talk about it. This, after all, the shir is called for the Shabbos table. So we want to talk about this for the Shabbos table and do some svira upgrade. What do we do? So the first thing we have to know is we have to up our game in shul when we give shalom aleichem and wish good Shabbos to people. We should make it our business to go over to people with a smile, having mekabel kol adam sev upon him yafos, and give them a meaningful good Shabbos. That's showing respect to your chaver. Ramila would say, b'sever, make sure that you give it thought. Not just good Shabbos. You should have a good Shabbos where you digest the food, you sleep well Friday night, you get along, there's no fighting in the family. Then he says, ponim. Don't say good Shabbos to somebody while you're looking somewhere else. Give them your full attention, your full face. And your face, give them a smile. That's respect. Having mekabel kol adam mesev upon him yafos, that's respect. Ben Zayma says in next week's Pirkei Avos, such an important thing. Eizal mechabed, who is an honored person. And Ben Zayma is always... Ben Zayma doesn't give the cliche answer to things. And when Ben Zayma says Eizal mechabed, we would think, who's honored? What do you mean who's honored? Somebody that excels at Yiddishkeit. He learns a lot, he davens well, he gives tzedakah. That's an honored person. Ben Zayma doesn't answer that. First of all, Ben Zayma wants to show that all of the attributes that he talks about is accessible to everyone. Right? So you say, who's an usher? Somebody has a lot of money. Somebody has real estate, either from his parents, PhD, Papa has dough, or he's industrious, he's a good businessman, he's an usher. That's not everybody. The average, the middle class is the majority. So Ben Zayma says, no, everybody can be an usher. Because an usher is somebody that's samech b'chelka. Somebody that learns the attitude of being satisfied with what they have. That's accessible to everyone. The same thing he says, Ezo Gibber. So what do you mean Ezo Gibber? He works out in the weight room. He exercises. He does push-ups. Right? Takes his vitamins. He's gifted with a strong constitution. No. Ezo Gibber HaKovish is Yitzray. Somebody who can conquer his passion. somebody who holds back from saying Lashon Hara, someone who guards his eyes from looking at immodesty. That's accessible to everyone. Same thing, Ezel Chacham. What do you mean, who's a Chacham? So, somebody who learned a lot. Somebody has a good memory and remembers what he learns. Somebody's diligent. No. Ezel Chacham Aloi made Mikol Adam. Everybody could be Aloi made Mikol Adam. And he does the same thing with Ezel Mechubed. By Ezel Mechubed, he says, everybody could be an honored person. Because you want to be honored, honor others. The great reciprocity, the way you treat people, that's the way they'll treat you. Ezel Mechubed, HaMechabed Es Habriyos. You want to be honored? Honor other people. Respect other people. I've said many times that, today especially, we're living with very cynical people. People are cynical. You look at a person, he says, isn't he a nice guy? Yeah. Well, who knows how he behaves behind closed doors? Yeah, look at what about tzedakah is. Yeah, the amount of money he is, for me, it's like giving a quarter. People are very cynical. You know what they're not cynical about? If somebody says to you, I watch how you daven with your children. I see that you teach them how to say Amen. I see they sit so nicely by you. You're doing something right. People aren't cynical about that. People say, this guy, he's a kenner, he knows. You give people honor, they take it at face value. We learn from the horrible tragedy of the death of the Talmidei Rebbe Kiva how important it is to respect your neighbors, to show them that you have them in high regard. By the way, this is the big trait of being Me'urev Abriyos. You respect people, then you are a person that mingles well with people. And by the way, that's the barometer number one of what Hashem feels about us. Because that's what it says in the Mishnah. If people are at ease with you, then you could be sure that Ruach HaMokim Noichemenu. Then Hashem is at ease with you. That's the litmus test. That's the barometer. And by the way, one of the ways to be able, because it's not easy to respect everyone. Not easy. I don't respect him. Look at the way he talks. He's gruff. He yells. His language is not refined. Look at this person. I see him during davening. He's talking. Look at this person. He's so stingy. Never takes out a penny to give to tzedakah. It's not easy to respect everyone. So that's where Ben Zayma's definition that we mentioned earlier looms so importantly. Ezel Chacham, who's wise, haloi made mikol adam. Somebody who could learn from every person. That's a wise person. You see, a wise person has trained himself to zoom in on the good that each person does. Most people, they zoom in on the bad that people do, and then they feel comfortable. Okay, I'm better than him. But the Chacham says, I could learn, like the pasuk says, Mikol Malamda Yiskalti. I could learn from every person. So you'll say, what could you learn from an angry person? He has a temper, violent temper. Usually an angry person is a passionate person. And you should see, they daven with a lot of kavanah. You can learn from him how to daven. You see a person come in, he's a slob, he has a big spot on his shirt, he smells a little bit. What can you learn from him? But then you see that Aniyim come in and he has ready for them $1, and he gives it to them with a smile. Wow. You see, it's not black and white. A chacham could see the good in each person. That, by the way, that's how you're able to learn. And that's what the Chavetz Chaim say. You have to see the good in people. Then you'll be able to be nitzar l'shayin chameira usvasecha medaber mirma. Then you'll be able to guard your tongue from evil, because you see the good in people. Now, talking about kavod, we should stress that there are certain people that you have to give even more kavod. Now that's a lot, because Rebbe Eliezer said, you should honor your friend like yourself. But there are people that you should honor more than yourself. And I'm talking about your wife. It says in Gemara in Yevamos, Mechabda yoyser megufay. You should honor her more than yourself. That's a rather remarkable statement. Mechabda yoyser megufay. Honor her more than her. So actually, under the chuppah, when they read our ksuva commitment out loud, we pledged this. We said, Ana eflach, I will work, v'okir, and I will honor, v'ezen, I will feed, v'afarnes, I will clothe, yasichi lichi. I will do all these things for you. They read it publicly that we committed to this. Now when it says, you might think, why does it say work before honor? A wife wants to be cherished above all else. The answer is, if a person doesn't have work, he doesn't feel good about himself. If you don't feel good about yourself, it's very hard to honor other people. But this, when it says I will honor, it doesn't mean like everybody else, because you're supposed to honor everybody like yourself. So it means more than yourself. That's consistent what it says in Yevamos, Mechabda yoyser megufay. So again, what does it mean, honor? I'll honor my wife. You don't have to stand up for your wife. What does it mean, honor? So there's simple applications of honor. Your wife is talking. Don't make it like she doesn't know what she's talking about. That's not respecting her. Let her say her opinion and listen to it, and really listen to it. The Gemara says, Ishtcha gutza. Even if your wife is short, gochin v'lochishla, bend down and whisper with her. Listen to what your wife says. By the way, honoring her also means to buy her nice clothing. The Gemara tells us that the Chachamim used to call their clothing machbedusei, what gives them honor. And when it says about Shabbos v'chigbaretoi, you should honor the Shabbos, it means with special Shabbos clothing. So here's a person, he spends a lot of money on a shtreimel, spend more money on the shaitel than the shtreimel. Spend more money on a wife's dress than what you buy for Yom Tov. Spend more money on her shoes. That's covered. Nice tachshitin. The woman is happy with jewelry. That's covered. Covered is very important. It's very important. We learn from the Talmud Rabbi Kiva how important it is. It's very important when it comes to a wife. Rava was a Rav in a very big town. It was a Rav of Mechuzah. It was a port city. It was a very wealthy city. And he used to say to his batim, "B'matusa minaychu, I beg of you, oikiru nishaychu, honor your wives, kiyechi detisasru, in order that you'll become wealthy. Honor your wives, because it says in Abracha Mitzuya B'Seich Beis Shalodam Ela B'Shvil Ishtay, blessing only comes from a wife, but specifically to honor a wife, not to treat a wife shabbily, not to treat a wife without the proper respect that you would give to someone that you respect. This is so important. Reb Level Katz, in his O Aryeh, writes that the deaths happened before Shavuos to teach us derech eretz kodma latayra. You can't have a yeshiva bachrim that, when it comes to the way they interact with people, they're rough around the edges. Listen, I'm stressing learning, and Talmud Torah keneged kulam. No, derech eretz kodma latayra. Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim didn't have a kiyum because they were missing this. They were missing this covet. Now, we can't leave this subject without mentioning that Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 Talmid, not one survived. Remember, he spent away from his beloved wife Rachel 24 years to dedicate himself ferociously to these Talmidim. And there was nothing left. This could destroy any man. But Rabbi Akiva went, and he went down to the south, found 5 other Talmidim, including the great Reb Meir, and he rebuilt Torah for Klal Yisrael. He rebuilt the Messiah for Klal Yisrael. And this teaches us a person can never give up. And throughout the ages, we saw such strength. You take somebody like the Klozmer Rebbe. He lost a wife and 11 children. A wife and 11 children. And he went further. He persisted. He didn't get depressed. Yush is shalom midas. Atzvus is only the atzas hayetze. And he built Torah again, Mifal HaShas, Laniado Hospital, Klozmer communities in Union City, in Netanya, Yerushalayim, Klozmer Hasidim, that represent all of the finest of Yiddishkeit, mamish all over the world. That's that koyach of Kahaneman, the Panavizhirav, who lost almost everything and said he wants to rebuild every yeshiva for those that were destroyed, who built with his vision. Rabbi Wein would say in a remarkable story. Rabbi Wein would tell the story that he got to know Rav Kahaneman very well when he came down to Miami Beach, when Rabbi Wein was Rav in Miami Beach. And Rav Kahaneman told him that he wants to make an appeal to the young couples in Rabbi Wein's shul. Rabbi Wein said these young couples are struggling. They really don't have any discretionary money. But even so, Rav Kahaneman said, I want to speak to them. And Rabbi Wein, who had the utmost respect for Rav Kahaneman, made it mandatory to attend the Panavizha Rebbe's drasha, and he provided babysitting in the shul so that all the young couples could come. And Rabbi Wein was stunned by what the Rav Kahaneman appealed. Rav Kahaneman told them tearfully about the 1 million children under 12 that died in the Holocaust. And he says, we've lost them. And it's our achrayus to rebuild Klal Yisrael and to have children. He appealed to them to have children and continue Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Wein said that there were more Kiddushim and Brisim that year than any year. That these are our leaders that didn't give up. It says in the parasha, Emor al Kahanim v'amarta aleihem. So that sounds like a rhetoric. Emor al Kahanim v'amarta aleihem. So Rashi, of course, tells us from the Gemara in Yevamos on Daf Kuf Yudalid. The Gemara says, "Lahazir agdolim ala katanim," to warn the adults to tell their youth. So Rav Zilberstein in the Aleinu L'Shabbat says that the Welt says the Lashon of Lahazir Hagdoilim Alaktanim. Hazir means a Lashon of Zohar, of shining. The Gedolim have to shine when they do their Avodas Hashem. And that will get the youth to do it. If a person is sitting there waiting, okay, it's almost Havdalah, Shabbos is almost over. That doesn't impress upon the youth the glow of Shabbos. If a person is saying, hurry up, we could daven Mincha Marav now and knock him off in one shot, and then we'll have the whole night for ourselves. That doesn't leave an impression of how excited you are to go in tefillah to talk to Rabbeinu Shalom. Person is being Mavis Seder, or a person is Mavis Seder with a sweet tone while the child is falling asleep in the bedroom. It makes all the difference in the world. In the Reshiva, it's known that he was asked, how could it be that the people during the Great Depression were moisen nefesh to keep Shabbos, and yet their children assimilated? How could it be that they risked themselves and suffered to keep Shabbos, and yet their children left the fold? So Rosh Shiva said, you have to understand, when they came home, they said, I can't take this anymore. Every week, I lose my job because of Shabbos. They were fired every Friday. I don't know what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from me. It's so hard. Ramosha said, from a krechs, we don't make next generations. He says, you never say it's schwer zu sein a Yid. It's glücklich zu sein a Yid. It's fortunate to be a Yid. On the opposite spectrum, there's a story of a man that would get fired every week during the Great Depression. And on Friday, when he was fired, he would ask the boys, give me a termination note. Now, this is before the time of, where we were litigious and we could fight for our rights. And the boss looked at him like it was nuts, but he wrote him on a pink slip, you're fired. And every week, the father would come home and put the pink slip in the dining room shank, next to the silver cases. And his wife would say, what are you keeping it for? What is it, that's a misery drawer? He says, you'll see. Before Sukkot, he took out all the pink slips, and he told the children, we're going to use these and make chains to hang on the schach. This is our beauty to Hashem, our zekeli v'anveyu, how we're moisen nefesh to keep Shabbos. This is the most beautiful thing to put on the schach. This is teaching children. Lahazir hagdolim esaktanim. This is teaching children. As I've said many times in this shir, in Kriya Shema we say, if something is on your heart, if you're passionate about it, mothers convey to their children the joy of shopping. Fathers convey to the children the joy of their favorite sport, whether it's paddleball, whether it's tennis, whether it's basketball, whether it's pickleball. If you're heartsick about something, then vishinantam levanecha. We have to be heartsick about the mitzvahs, about coming to shul, about learning Hashem's Torah. I want to thank you all for joining us, especially the Rubin family, for sponsoring the shir. We are looking for a sponsor for next week's shir on Bahar, 718-916-3100. rmmwsi@aol.com. If you want to join our Zoom Daf Yomi family, as we're learning as Secher as a Payalim, Motzei Shabbos, we learn at 10:20 at zoomdaf.com, and this week we're learning at 8:40 at zoomdaf.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a really wonderful Shabbos.